You are now tuning into what is a impromptu emergency unboxing. Emergency because one of my main puzzles for the past many years has broke, and after a long period of mourning, I finally decided that it's time to replace it. To find out what happens, stay tuned. It's Halloween, which means it's the day for spooky, scary things to happen around here. Throughout the video, you might hear some wind noise, some birds chirping. That's because I have my bedroom window open here. That's because one of the spookiest things we've been delivered today is a late in the year heat wave that has made it like 85 degrees inside this house. Even spookier than that is this. An unboxing jump scare. Now we have 3 puzzles that we're gonna look at in here, 2 of which are very long awaited for myself personally. And this side of the bag is very filthy, but the other side has my address and name, so we're gonna stick with the filth for now. If you don't like it, then you can close your eyes for like 3 seconds. Alright. Those are some big boxes for what I think I ordered here, but that's fine. We have a warning here. Please don't twist your 2x2 corners. 2x2s have a corner that is attached to the cord to help with alignment. If you twist that piece, your cube might break. To be on the safe side, please do not twist any of the corners. We are not responsible for puzzles broken in this way. I've never seen a warning like that, and it's a little foreshadowing into our little unboxing here. So for today, we have 2 WCA event normal things, and then we have whatever, I forgot the name of this, but it looks cool. We're gonna take a look at that later. Hopefully I can solve it. For now, these are what are important for today. And these are just a 2x2 and a 7x7 in absolutely enormous boxes. But before we open these boxes, I wanna show you something here. Here we have all of my main puzzles for N×N events. And here you may notice that one of these puzzles doesn't look like the others. And maybe 2 actually. But actually there's 3. Okay, so starting on the left here, we have my main 2x2. This is an old Moyu that I forgot the name of. I'll put it in here. And it's been my main for a very long time. And being as old as it is non-magnetic, which I've always found to be a problem even before magnets were ever implemented into cubes. And I don't solve 2x2 very often, but I've been taking a look at more of the magnetic 2x2s that have come out, and I've always wondered, would it help with my extreme lack of control when trying to solve these things? I've only ever had 2 2x2s, in fact. This is the Diane 2x2, and we're getting even older, back into archaic puzzles. And with both of these, I've just had problems with control. I'm sure I could have fixed that myself by just slowing down my turning, but I'm too lazy. So I just bought a new puzzle, which is a new 2x2, which is magnetic, which we'll take a look at in a second. But moving on from 2x2, we got 3x3. This is just a Moyu RS3M, which I've raved about a lot, how much I like it, how cheap it is. I have 3 of these, and I just kind of switch out each 3 depending on which one I want to use. They all have a little bit of a different feel, and they've all done me well. I'm not looking to replace the RS3M anytime soon. And then we move on to 4x4. This is more controversial. This one's a little bit older. It's again 460M, and most people hate this. The inner layers are pretty catchy. In fact, very catchy. And maybe I'll replace this thing at some point here, but this is magnetic. It's fast. 3x3 layers are absolutely incredible, and it's still doing me pretty well, although it has its shortcomings, but we're not looking to replace this today. Nor are we replacing the 5x5, which is also one I forgot the name of. It is also magnetic and fantastic, although I do have some issues with popping every once in a while, but not enough to warrant a replacement. Then 6x6, another old Moyu, not magnetic, but I never solved 6x6, so forgetting about that. And then we move on to our finale here. So this is an old Moyu Alfu 7x7, and I love 7x7. It's one of my favorite events, and I'm terrible at it, but I'm trying to get better. And in the midst of trying to get better, that happened. Yes, the stock of one of my centerpieces here broke, and well, now I haven't been able to solve 7x7 for like a month. And I've been thinking about replacing my 7x7 because this thing has just been super poppy on me. It pops almost every solve and damages my times, adds like 20-30 seconds every solve I have, and I'm trying to average sub 5 minutes, and I'm averaging like 5.5 minutes. So hopefully the new one doesn't pop, and hopefully, being a magnetic 7x7, this one is not magnetic. Hopefully the magnets will help with that and will help with control a little bit. So let's get rid of these Put you back there. And let's bring these two back, get rid of one of them again, and delve into the world of the MGC 2x2. Now, if the phrase tardy to the party was in the dictionary, this video would be there because this thing came out a while ago, and I'm just now getting to it. So here we have the thing. Here we have some other things. Yeah, I don't know why cube boxes have gotten so massive. Look at all that empty space in there. So here we go. You got the puzzle. Spare springs and washers and screws and whatnots. I don't know if I'm gonna bother with the spare springs and stuff because I barely solve 2x2 like I said. So long as this is decent, should be fine to replace my current main. Okay, not bad so far. The magnets aren't as strong as I thought they would be. They seem to be doing a little bit of work here. Definitely dry. All right, let's just do a quick out of the box speed solve and see what happens here. I average like 5-ish seconds on 2x2, so hopefully I can get around there. Or faster. Okay, what do we got? I'm gonna go with yellow side and see what happens. I'll take that. That was very sloppy turning on my part. Just got a lucky PLL skip on that. Let's do another. Just do another here for science sake. Here we go. This one's gonna be tougher. Well, that sucked. All right, well, it feels pretty good. I think it's definitely gonna have good potential to replace my main 2x2. Compared to the Moya here, I definitely do feel a bit more control with it. Again, those magnets are, they're not super weak, but they're not maybe as strong as I would like them. I think my turning's just a bit too rough for the magnets to handle by themselves. So I'll have to play around with this thing and try to lube it up, maybe try to get the full potential out of this thing. Well, I think that would have been sub 5. Ooh, evil time. More scares. Could it be a coincidence? Yes. Okay, let's take this thing to the lab, get it set up, and do some real averages with it. Alright, so the YJ MGC 2x2, I've done probably 50 solves by now. These are some of my first that you're watching right here, and they are, as you're about to see, kind of abysmal. This thing took some getting used to. Again, out of the box it felt very dry, but looking into the core, I did see some lubrication in there. It just took a few solves to really get it working a little bit, but even after that it still felt pretty dry, so I put some more in it. I did manage to find and dig up some Lubical Weight 4. Put that in the core to help slow it down a little bit because at this point it was a little fast and uncontrollable for me. I also tried tightening the puzzle, turning each screw about a half turn, but this made it just feel too blocky and it reduced the corner cutting a lot. Out of the box, normal corner cutting was just about 45 degrees. This is what I'm used to, so I wanted to keep it like this. So I ended up loosening the puzzle back to its default out of the box tensions, putting that Lubical Weight 4 in there, and then tried putting some D&M 37 on the pieces themselves, just because that's how I've set up my other 2x2s. After breaking this setup in, it started to feel quite a bit better and more controllable. And overall, I am liking it. There are a lot of pros with this puzzle. Again, after just these 50 or so solves, I've gotten it pretty under control, even with how fast it is. And at this point, the MGC 2x2 doesn't feel too far away from what I'm used to, which is a good thing, but it's also kind of a bad thing because I was hoping that this thing would kind of revolutionize my turning and my times and my control over 2x2. I've always had very sloppy turning and a lot of lockups with 2x2, and I figured that magnets would help me align my layers here, and they do to a degree, but these magnets are just lighter than I would like them to be. Honestly, I probably just need to fix my turning style. Another thing about this puzzle I'm not a huge fan of is the actual weight of it. This is very much personal preference, but the cube feels a bit lighter than my current main Moyu 2x2, and I usually like my puzzles to be on the heavier side. This probably doesn't really impact times too much, if at all. It's just a personal thing. I like my cubes to be a little heavier. But have my times actually improved with this cube so far? A little bit. Right now you're watching an average of 10. I've done a bunch of averages of 10 for my studies here, and the best average I got was 4.94, which is pretty good for me, but nothing unheard of. I also did a bunch of averages of 10 on my current Moyu main, and I averaged about a quarter of a second more. So technically, it's getting me a little bit better times, it seems like, just not by much. Again, I don't really solve 2x2 too much, and I probably won't, but it's decent for what it is, and it's good enough for me. So there's our 2x2. I'm liking it, But what this is really about here, because I love 7x7, is the YJ MGC 7x7. I have been at war with my Moyu Alfu for a long time, popping almost every solve and then genuinely breaking on me. It was a fantastic 7x7 for the time, but it's time to evolve and upgrade and get magnetic. Hopefully one of those made it through the plastic. It did not. Now, I debated getting either this or the new Moyu Alfu. That one is as well magnetic, and I think they've fixed some of the stability, popping, locking issues. But I decided to go for the YJ, first of all, because it's cheaper. And secondly, personally, just the Alfu name is a little tarnished for me. And here we go. What could all this space be taken up by? Probably a fix-it-yourself kit or something. And then our cube. And then some plastic. Is that a do-it-yourself cube stand? Yes, sir. Hold on. We gotta build this. There we go. That's kind of cool. And then you got a screwdriver, different magnets. They seem like pretty strong. All right, here we go. So first of all, size. Knocking things over. How does it compare? It's about the same. Maybe a millimeter or two smaller. Now turning, how does turning compare? Pretty dry once again. Shades are looking nice. Turning feels pretty decent so far. How strong are these magnets? They're decently strong. Feels like maybe the outer layer magnets are a little weaker and the inner ones are a bit stronger. So it's a little smaller. The size doesn't feel too much different from the old Alfu there. Turning is pretty promising so far. It's now we're starting to kind of break in and speed up a little bit. Outer layers are definitely an improvement. Inner layers, also an improvement. I've done that now, let's just mix it up. Okay, it's pretty promising so far. It's a little catchy here and there. Maybe I'll have to mess with the tensions. Before I do that, before I lube it up or anything, I'm going to do at least one solve just raw straight out of the box and see what happens. So we're going to do that and then maybe set it up. So let's go to the solving cam. Alright, here we are. So this is my very first solve of the YJ 7x7 here. The eagle-eyed of you might notice that the scramble isn't exactly how we left it off. That's because I tried solving it 2 times and accidentally pressed the spacebar on my keyboard and reset the timer halfway through. So this is the very first full solve. The first of about 30 that I've done so far. And I can say I am absolutely loving this thing. This YJ is extremely fast compared to what I'm used to with my old Moyu Alfu. It feels very similar to my YJ MGC 5x5 that I've had for about a year now, which I guess makes sense. They're from the same line. I've noticed these YJ cubes starting to take over my main lineup from Moyu, which my entire collection used to be Moyu. And YJ and Moyu are the same company. YJ, from what I've known, it's just kind of the more budget line from Moyu. So it makes sense. All these YJ cubes have gotten super good and super cheap, and certainly they're good enough for me at my current skill level. So in this 7x7, of course it's magnetic, and all of the magnets seem to be a very good strength. This is unlike the 2x2 where I wish those magnets were stronger. I love the outer layer magnets on this thing, how they're not too strong, and how the inner layer magnets are a bit stronger and really help keep all the layers in line and help the thing from popping and preventing any lockups. Now, lockups do occasionally happen, but far less often than with my Moyu. I also have had a few pops here, maybe 1 in every 5 solves or so, but it's easy enough to put back in most of the time, and the pops have been occurring less and less as I've been solving the thing more and getting used to the turning. And like I said, the turning is fantastic. The outer layers are insane. On the past, my 3x3 stage on 7x7 has always been like above or near the 20-second range, and now with the YJ it's down to about 15 or so, which is closer to what I average on 3x3. Inner layers are also great, super smooth, super quick, and it's got a very snappy feel, again very similar to the MGC 5x5. And I'm really liking how the cube feels just after breaking it in out of the box. I haven't lubed it up at all. It felt dry when I first unboxed it, but there's clearly some lubrication in there that just had to be worked around with a bunch of solves. And lastly, I want to talk about the cube's size. This cube is 68 millimeters, which is 2 millimeters smaller than my Alfu. 2 millimeters may not seem like a massive difference here, but it is very noticeable. The MGC overall just fits in your hands a little better and is just easier to control. Overall, the older Alfu was just a little more unwieldy with how big it was. So after all of this hubbub, did I achieve my goal with this cube? Which, if you remember, was to average sub 5 on 7x7? Yes. In fact, we have smashed that goal here, and I'm averaging about 4 minutes and 30 seconds right now. That is a whole minute reduction from my 5 minutes 30 seconds that I was averaging with my old Alfu, which really puts into perspective how far 7x7 cubing hardware has come in the past few years. What's even more astonishing is I have gotten 2 sub 4 minute solves so far, which is absolutely unheard of, unconceivable in my mind until now. So I would say with the YJ 7x7 here, was our goal achieved? Absolutely, and then some. This first solve, by the way, was the fastest solve I had ever done, so not a bad start. So there we have the 2 YJ MGCs, the 2x2 and the 7x7. Both pretty dang good performers here, but the big question is, have they performed well enough to be my new mains? Start with the 7x7. Yes, like I said, with the old Alfu, I was averaging like 5.5 minutes. Now I'm averaging like 4.5 minutes. If you get a 1 minute time decrease from just switching over to new hardware, that hardware is very good. And this is all just after about 20 or so solves. I'm pretty excited to see where I actually get with this thing once I actually get decent. Now the 2x2, it's not bad. It's not as massive and groundbreaking of an improvement as the 7x7 was. Like I said, currently my main is an old Moyu, whatever it was. I did a back-to-back average of 20 for both of these, and I got about 1/4 of a second better with the new MGC as opposed to the Moyu. And that's better than nothing. I mean, 1/4 of a second for some people on 2x2 is like their entire solve. For me, it's a notable change, but nothing astronomical like what this did. So I'll have to keep playing around with this thing and see if I can get my times down. And I mean, I don't really care about 2x2 too much. It's fine for what it is. Now, before we wrap up here, let us not forget the special extra puzzle. So this is the Ziina time machine. The time machine puzzle's been made by a few different companies. You can find different variants with different sticker patterns on them. This is the, what was this called? The Zodiac. Yes, the Zodiac variant, where you have all your Zodiac astrology signs if you're into that. I'm pretty into astronomy myself, not astrology, but they're close enough, I guess. Apparently it's a speed cube. We'll be the judge of that. Let's have fun together. Sure, you've got all of your bold claims and fun colors and whatnot. Let's just crack it open and stop yapping. So this thing is, it's a pretty snazzy, intricate looking puzzle, but I believe it's simpler than the stickers lead us to believe. At its most basic, this is a 2x2 with extensions here. So let's take our 2x2 from earlier here, align it up, and yeah, as you can see, this corner right here is the same as this corner right here. So if we move it like this, yes, we can see all of these 2x2 pieces. But of course, in addition to being a 2x2, we have these extensions here that rotate all around with all the Zodiac signs, and I assume we can do that and mix it up like that, move it back, and yep, this is gonna be tough, isn't it? So for these inner circles here, you're supposed to line these up in a specific order. With a normal time machine, I think these would just be like numbers here. I think each face would normally be like a clock, but here it's all your Zodiac signs, so you're supposed to get them in order from, well, whatever order they're supposed to go in. I don't remember the order that they're supposed to go in, so I'll have to look that up. But before I do that, let's just make things difficult and give it a scramble. The 2x2 axis turns decently here. These also turn fine. You gotta make sure everything's lined up though. This is definitely, I can tell, gonna be a puzzle where lining everything up correctly, it's gonna be tough. This is one of those puzzles where just scrambling it up feels like a chore. About 2 minutes in already and I still have a way to go. I think we're good. So I'm gonna call that scrambled. We're gonna move back to the solving cam and we're gonna see what happens. So here we are solving the time machine. I decided to time the solve just because, just to see what would happen. Starting off, we're doing this in 2 steps, starting with the 2x2 stage right here, which is, I mean, easy enough if you know how to solve 2x2. You just have to not get kerfuffled or whatever, messed up by the pieces, because they do look pretty weird. Let's fast forward a little bit. There's the 2x2 stage done. This is what that 2x2 stage looks like solved. You can see the little inner circles that are fixed, that are lined up with the little 2x2 corner pieces. And now we're on to solving these outer circle discs. Again, these discs all have like Zodiac signs, which are supposed to be in a specific order. I don't have that order memorized, so I have a guide off screen. Most of this process wasn't too tough. Figuring out how pieces move around and match up with each other was pretty easy. One of the toughest parts was honestly just trying to keep the order correct with all the signs here. If this was just a normal time machine puzzle with numbers like clock faces, this would have been much quicker and easier. Okay, no, we're not going to get anywhere at this pace. We got to speed it up a lot. And now here we are to the fun part. Yeah, this is what stumped me. I haven't solved it yet. We're on the last phase. All 5 other Zodiac discs have been solved by this point. The final one is the yellow one, and, well, I have yet to figure out a way to get all of these in the correct order without messing up other faces. You can see me trying to utilize the red face here as kind of my workspace to move the yellow pieces into place, but I just can't move these yellow pieces without messing up the red face. So clearly there's some sort of algorithm or commutator, whatnot, that gets the jobs done here. I have yet to figure that out, and I have yet to look up a tutorial because I refuse to look up one. I think I can figure this out on my own. It's just going to take quite a bit more time. This whole solve here was probably about an hour-ish with the timer. I think it's going to take quite a bit of time to figure out how to get these little Zodiac signs into place on the last face. So that's a struggle for another day.